Welcome back to Opinion Journal Live. I'm Jason Riley, and my next guest is Tamar Jacoby of ImmigrationWorks to talk about the President's remarks on comprehensive immigration reform yesterday. Welcome, Tamar.
Hey, Jason.
So the President sort of outlined what comprehensive reform might look like, and I know that you were intimately involved in this process back in 2007, the last time we tried to do it. Did you like what you heard from him?
Well, he left out one important piece. I'm glad to hear him talking about it. I'm glad that I won't say I'm happy about what happened in the election, but the one part of the election I'm happy about is that it has brought the issue to the fore. There are a lot of questions remain about exactly how it's going to get done, right? This is a very contentious issue, splits both parties, has as many moving parts as the budget deal. And so how the president does it and how Republicans react and how everybody starts to move toward that elusive sweet spot is going to be very, very important. On the substance, I was a little concerned that the way he describes it, he always leaves out one of the parts that I think is most important, which is visas for unskilled workers. He talks about legalization, and he talks about punishing employers, and he talks about high-skilled workers, but I don't know anybody who's raising their kids to be a home health care aide, right. And that's going to be the fastest growing occupation in America over the next decade.
He also sort of ducked a question as to whether he would initiate this by sending a bill up to the Hill, or whether he'd wait for Congress to begin the process. Is that an important factor in moving forward, whether it starts with the president or Congress?
Oh, it is, and I'm not exactly sure what the right answer is, because the dynamic that we've had in the past years where Democrats kind of owned this issue, and the public political dynamic was Democrats proposing and scolding Republicans for not coming along. That is definitely a dynamic we do not want to go back to. That was not a productive dynamic. Okay. And the kinds of things we read about, that happened in insider books, that happened in Woodward and elsewhere, that happened in the start of the last term, where the president would call Republicans down to the White House and he would say, "Here's how we're going to do it, and my way or the highway," right. And they would say, "Okay, take that highway by yourself on taxes and health care and that sort of thing." That's not a productive dynamic either. Okay. So the big question is, what's the productive dynamic? And I'm not sure we know yet. And I think, if the president, I hope the president's going to be really careful about that. And it isn't just going to be, thinking that he can do this by sort of laying it on the table and scolding Republicans to come along.
Okay, just 30 seconds left. I'm wondering, how big a deal was the Hispanic vote in Romney's loss in your view? And do you think that the party can pivot on this issue within the next 4 years, turn things around, and win back some of these voters?
I think it's a really big issue. Hispanics don't actually vote in anything like proportion to their numbers, right? Mm-hmm. There are 50 million Hispanics in America, and only about 10 million are voting right now. More and more, so it's the fastest growing voting bloc, and it's going to be more and more and more of an issue in elections to come. This was just kind of a first taste. Okay. It doesn't mean Republicans should change who they are. We have a lot of things to say that appeal to Latinos.